Got through it, guys. What a crazy, crazy Thursday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here in the deep south, we just experienced a tornado outbreak. I wasn't directly, I didn't have a direct hit as far as the tornado goes, but we were tornado warned. There were big time tornadoes below us, so I was on high alert today. I was on high alert, but we got through it. The weather has calmed down. Thankfully, the Wi-Fi survived. That was the main thing I was worried about because I knew bad, bad, bad weather was coming through. So I was a little nervous about it, but it held through. We're here. We made it. Let's go. Before we go on any further, let me apologize about the audio. I know I probably sound wanky because, uh, well, this phone needs to be replaced. I need a new phone. I'm going to get a new phone. And on top of that, my freaking laptop broke down. It's under warranty, but it's over at my parents' house, so I got to get that thing fixed. I can't use a regular microphone, so the audio that you're hearing, yeah, that's this phone that you're hearing. And the problem with this phone, usually I could use a microphone with this phone, but the daggum charging port, which is where you attach the microphone as well, that stupid moisture sensor went off. Come to find out, once that thing goes off, you can't never make it stop. Therefore, you can't ever plug anything into the charging port. So number one, I have to charge my phone wirelessly. Number two, I can't use a mic. So there you go. There's the explanation for the weird sound or the sound that's off. It's not high quality, and I totally understand that. I just wanted to give you the explanation. Can you tell? Can you tell I've been a little stressed today? Can you tell? Just look. It's been one of those days, and it was family life was fine. It wasn't that. It was daggum weather. I always get stressed out when bad weather comes through. Anyways, appreciate everybody stopping by. Let's see who we have in the chat real quick. Of course, we got the OG Sorgy Stories. He's been a subscriber since before 1,000. G Boone in the house. I see, man. Kevin Wood, Hillbilly Skeptic, man, great supporter right there, and Liam Shepard. Do me a quick favor, guys. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It's easy, simple, fast, and free way to support the channel. The more likes a video has, the more it gets suggested by YouTube. So you can directly help the show get suggested by YouTube by simply hitting the like button. It's as easy as that. Also, if you have a comment, a question, a troll, hey, the title is correct. I'm here for the trolling. I like some good trolling. So if you have any troll comments, best way to do that is what Hillbilly Skeptic just did. Super chat right there. And it's a great way to support the channel. You guys got to realize in the off season, it turns into the grind because people lose interest in college football. So, I still put out videos every day, but, they're not going to get as many views because people aren't as interested until what I call the boom month. And the boom month usually happens July, August, and then until December, you do really, really well. The off season, you rely heavily on your live shows, your super chats, and your Patreons to get you through the summer. So appreciate all the support. Hillbilly Skeptic already with a $5 dono says some cheddar to make your day better. Some cheddar to make your day better. You know what? This chair actually is making the noise because I had it all the way back against the desk right there. Anyways, let's get into tonight's show, shall we? By the way, I want to ask you a quick question. Did y'all like the videos I did earlier? That last one that I did, that I talked about, and I basically talked about it in last night's live show about how the SEC has dominated college football ever since they made the deal with ESPN. But you don't realize just how significant it is until you look at the national championships before. We all realize that the SEC is the best conference right now. They are dominating college football. What we forget is the 25 years before that and beyond. I didn't want to go too far back. They did not dominate college football. They didn't. They didn't. 5 national championships in 25 years. 5. That's it. But they're dominating now because they made a good decision. See, I'm not knocking it. It's a good decision. And they made the deal with ESPN. They're getting all this money, all the facilities, the best coaches, and of course that equals the best players. Kevin Wood says before the BCS. Speaking of the BCS, whenever they announced that they were actually doing a playoff, even though it was only 4 teams, I was excited until they said we are doing away with the BCS system. We are doing a playoff committee. Oh, the human element. The human element. Listen, if you're a human, it is human to play favorites. It's going to happen. And that's what we've seen in the playoffs. Favorites get played a lot. I wish that they would have created the playoffs originally, but kept the BCS. Kept the BCS. Like the BCS point system, I thought was great. I just think more teams deserved a shot at a national championship. You add 2 more teams, have a playoff, but keep the way the BCS did points. That would have been perfect. But no, they screw that up. And of course, we've been having blowout after blowout after blowout after blowout in national championships. I don't like it, guys. I don't like it. And this year was the largest blowout ever, not in just national championship history, but also bowl history. Yeah, it's that bad. P Digits, I do have a Cash App, but I forgot to copy it, and for some reason it won't let me actually comment in the comment section. But whenever I'm done with this video, I will post my Cash App and PayPal, just in case you want to donate. You don't have to. Don't feel like you're obligated to do that. But just in case you want to donate to the show, that's what we depend on in the off season. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and act like that's not a big deal. It is a big deal, especially in the off season. So all those donations, greatly appreciated. So how's everybody doing this evening? Let's see. I saw a few more people pop in. We have P Digits in the house. I saw Traveling Fools in earlier. Mike Stan Chill Porter. I have not seen that name, so I'm sorry if I can't remember that name, but for some reason that looks like a new name. So I'm guessing you're new to the show. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you like it enough to where you actually subscribe to the channel and keep watching the videos. We are well past 12,000, working our way to 13,000, and I think we can get to 25,000 by the end of 2023. I really do. I think we can have another great year. So tonight, what I wanted to talk about is 2023. Why not? Like I stated yesterday, once your team plays its last game, whether it's a regular season game or a bowl game or a playoff game or a national championship, once that game is played, your season is over. That's it. The next season immediately begins. So since everybody's season is officially over, it's time to talk about 2023. How about that? Hillbilly Skeptic, thank you for another $5 dono, says, how can SEC have a money advantage from ESPN when the Big Ten makes more total revenue? 2019 SEC 712 million, Big Ten 755 million, and paid more to their teams. Yes, that actually is a good point, and that's why I sort of addressed that in the video, saying how much the Big Ten is overrated, because the Big Ten does make a lot of money, and they've had 3 national championships in the last, 40 years? I mean, it's sad. They've only had 1 national championship in the playoffs, and then 2 in the 25 years before that. They had 2 national championships between 1980 and 2006. When I saw that, I was like, I was not expecting that. I thought they had at least like 4, maybe 5 close to the SEC. Not even close. The Big Ten is definitely overrated. And the biggest problem with the Big Ten is their scheduling. They're not, the soft scheduling is not a good idea. I know you want your teams to survive with as few losses as possible, That's why I like the way the SEC schedules as well. Only 8 conference games, 4 home, 4 road, and then it's up to you for your out of conference. Some schedule soft, some schedule tough, and some schedule in between. You don't see very many true road out of conference games in the SEC. I will give Alabama credit. Last year they did go on the road and beat Texas by 1 point. That is a strong road game, but for the most part, the SEC likes to play neutral site games at the beginning of the year, and then the rest is an FCS or a group of 5, something like that at home, usually at home. But usually those big Power 5 matchups are neutral site matchups. And even in the case of Florida and Georgia, when they play each other, that's neutral site. So their conference schedule is 4 home, 3 road, and 1 neutral for their conference schedule. And it looks like Arkansas and Texas A&M is starting to do the same thing. They're starting to play their game in a neutral site. So they're basically 4 home, 3 road, and 1 neutral every year as well. Liam Shepard, thank you for the $5 dono, buddy. Appreciate you. Said, I sub to you because you're non-biased and factual. I'm a Husker for life. You're West Virginia, I believe. Yes, that's right. And watch them go head-to-head for a national. It'll be fresh. Well, funny you should say that because back in 1994, we actually did see West Virginia versus Nebraska in the kickoff classic. It was not a kickoff classic. Nebraska absolutely stomped the mud hole into West Virginia, 31-0. That was West Virginia coming off an undefeated 1993. We got absolutely blasted by Florida in the Sugar Bowl because we didn't want to be there. We wanted to be in the national championship. We were undefeated. I still don't like the fact that we were not placed in the national championship that year. But we lost a ton of production from that team. West Virginia under Don Nehlen, West Virginia was one of those teams where they recruited good, but they depended more on experience. So every 4 to 5 years, West Virginia would actually have a really, really good team, like national championship contender caliber. Not necessarily get to it, but talk about it, be in the conversation, have a chance to get there every 4 to 5 years. 1988, we got to the national championship defeated, lost to Notre Dame. 1993, we finished the regular season undefeated, went to the Sugar Bowl, lost to Florida. Had we won that game, we would have gotten a share of the national championship. 1996 was looking really, really good, and then that blocked punt by Miami happened, and the rest of that season went downhill. But overall, yeah, we actually had some pretty good teams about every 4 to 5 years because that's just how it goes in West Virginia. We don't recruit, way up here. And that just proves how good of a coach Don Nehlen was. You get experience under that coach 4 or 5 years, you're ready to be very, very competitive. But that's just the way it was for West Virginia. But yes, I do remember that Nebraska-West Virginia game. It really wasn't a game. The best player for West Virginia in that game was Todd Sauerbrunn. He had like a 90-yard punt in that game, set a new record. And he was really the only thing that kept us in the game because we couldn't move the ball past like the 15, 20-yard line. But he would still flip the field for us. And at least it gave our defense a chance, to keep us in the football game. So 31-0 is that was mercy. It could have been a lot worse had we not had Todd Sauerbrunn, our punter. I would never forget that punt. Yes, a lot of that was bounce, but man, that dude had a cannon for a leg, and an absolute weapon. All right, so I do this in stages as far as playoff predictions, my top 25, and then team by team predictions. I actually break down the schedule and do an actual team prediction usually around June. And this past year, and well, I've done that 2 years in a row. Both years I've done pretty good. This past year I did the best. I did really good. Now, granted, I bombed on a few like TCU. Totally bombed on TCU. And I let my bias for West Virginia and thinking we made a lot of good decisions in the offseason make me predict something stupid for them as well. But for the most part, I actually did good. So in June, those will be coming out. But for right now, this is how do I want to phrase this? This is the knee-jerk before the transfer portal dies down. So a lot of transfer portal will be going on. So some of these teams could lose players that will affect what I'm about to say. Just right off their 2022 season, not factoring who they lost, who they're getting. This is just raw, right off the cuff. The trends that I'm seeing, have they established themselves? Are they still trying to establish themselves? Is there no hope for them? Kind of like that. Just kind of a broad look at this, and this will change. And I'll do another prediction probably in late April, and it'll be a little bit better. And then finally, my final predictions will start in June. So that's how we do it around here. So today, what I wanted to talk about is playoff predictions. Yep. It's not even a week past the national championship, and I'm already talking about the 2023 playoffs. I can't help it, guys. It's a sickness. I'm obsessed with college football. I'm probably going to be way off because this is really, really early. That's not the point. Being right or wrong about this is not the point. The point is having fun and talking college football. That is the point of this. So I want to give my my predictions for the playoffs. This one might surprise a few. So first I'll do my predictions for the 4-team playoff, and then I'll give my predictions in make-believe world if the 12-team playoffs existed this year. Now, those aren't coming into play till 2026. I can't wait till then. I have to talk about the 12-team playoffs because I am excited about that. The only thing I still don't like is the human element. I do like that the 6 highest-ranked conference champions get an automatic bid. So that takes a little bit of the human element. That's an automatic bid. You win your conference, you're in. If you're in a Power 5 conference and you win your conference, you're in. And then the highest ranked group of 5 conference, you're in. So half of it does not have the human element. Win your conference. But the other half does have the human element. So the at-large bids, seeds 6 through 12, yeah, we're back to the human element. So we're going to see a lot of crazy things. A lot of favoritism. It is what it is. They look for the moneymakers. And can you really blame them? No, not really. That's what it's all about. All right, so I'm going to give you my picks for the 14 playoffs, and then we'll expand it to 12. And then y'all tell me just how crazy I am for this. I will give you a broad reason. I'm not really going to break this down because I haven't really looked at much. We're fresh off the 2022 season, okay? But here's my broad reasons and the teams that I'm actually picking. So the 1 seed, and yes, I'll even name their seed. The 1 seed, I'm going to give it to Georgia. Georgia has a lot of talent coming back. I did take a peek at their schedule, and it is even easier this year. Unbelievably easy for an SEC schedule. Even Georgia fans agree with me on that. And listen, that is not me talking trash to Georgia. I'm not looking down and saying, "Oh, who have you played?" and all that stuff. No, I'm not doing that. That's actually pretty smart. I'm stating the truth. They have an easy schedule. Hillbilly Skeptic with the $5 dono says, Joe Klatt released his early 23 top 10. I'll have to take a look at that. Ohio State 2, Michigan at 3. How can the playoff get better with that kind of bias? I agree. The Big Ten needs the schedule more difficult. I mean, look at Michigan. Yes, they went on the road and blasted Ohio State, but then they get beat by a TCU, who got beat by Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, and then gets absolutely crushed by Georgia in the national championship. And then the team that they blew out, Ohio State, only lost to Georgia by 1. None of it makes sense. But as far as the 4 teams that made the playoffs this year, Michigan by far had the easiest schedule. But you know what? All they had to do was win that one tough game on the road to Ohio State, and they did it in emphatic fashion. And there you go, undefeated season, win the Big 12, and in the playoffs. You can't really argue with an undefeated season, though. I mean, as much as we want to look down on the Big Ten and call them overrated, which they are, you can't argue with an undefeated Big Ten champion. They're going to get in. The one that I did not agree with was Ohio State. The one really good team that you played all season, you got absolutely blasted at home. I know you could argue Penn State because they were a good team too, but you got absolutely blasted at home by Michigan. You didn't get to your own conference championship. And if you would have played the best team, just like USC did in Utah, Ohio State played Michigan again, they probably would have got beat and probably would have got knocked out of the playoffs. So I did not agree with Ohio State getting in over USC. However, fast forward to bowl season, USC inexplicably loses to Tulane after having, what, a 15-point lead? Was it a 15-point? Yeah, 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter. 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. 15-point lead. Blew it. Lost to Tulane. And Ohio State only lost by 1. So even though I don't agree and I don't think that Ohio State earned their way in, yeah, maybe Ohio State was a better team than USC because two different teams we saw in the bowl games. But okay, so anyways, the number 1 seed, I have Georgia. Man, I rabbit trail a lot. Number 1, Georgia. A lot of talent coming back. I think their defense will be much better than what it was this year. And they had a good defense. Georgia had a good defense. But they did take a slight step back from the historic defense from last year. And I think they're going to have a good offense again, of course. But I think it'll be the defense that'll be the best side of the ball this year. But the main reason is they have a really, really soft schedule. Really, really soft schedule. I think Georgia breezes into the SEC championship undefeated, even if they lose by 2 touchdowns to, I guess, whoever, Alabama, LSU, whoever gets there. Doesn't matter. Georgia's getting in, especially being the back-to-back 2-time national champions. Playoff committee is not going to leave Georgia out if they have 1 or 2 losses. It's just not happening. There's no argument. It's just not happening. So Georgia the 1 seed. Let me mark that so I don't go back to that. Georgia the 1 seed, okay? The 2 seed. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? Are you comfortable? Because I'm telling you, you're not going to see this one coming. 2 seed, I have Texas. Texas. I'm telling you. Texas has most of that really, really good team coming back. I think they're going to make a few moves in the transfer portal. And I think Texas goes on the road and stuns Alabama. That's what's going to set the stage for Texas for the rest of the year. Rest of the year. Going on the road and beating Alabama, that's what's going to give them the confidence. And they have the skill, they have the coaching. You know, I've talked down on Steve Sarkisian, but he's surrounded himself with a great coaching staff. Great coaching staff. I like what they're doing over there. And, you know, you look at Texas last year, I predicted Texas to go 8-4 in the regular season. That's exactly what happened. They went 8-4 in the regular season. You know, almost beat TCU. They weren't, they were getting beat handily 17-3 until that scoop and score. But then that made it 17-10, and that was the final score. Few things go their way. They could have won that game. And then they only lose to Alabama by 1 point. Texas had an underrated season last year. They really, really did. They played Alabama a lot closer than I thought they would. And Texas, seriously, they are one major upset on the road from making a massive, massive run and getting to the playoffs. And that massive upset is on the road to Alabama. This is a golden opportunity for the Texas Longhorns to make a statement against Big Bad Bama on the road before they go to the SEC. Even if they don't win that game, which I think they have a chance to win that game, but even if they don't win that game, I think no matter what, it's going to be a competitive game, just like it was last year. And that will be Texas' only loss. They win the Big 12 and they get into the playoffs. I'm telling you right now. Listen, I see people laughing at me in the comments section. It happens all the time. Then this time next year, I'm going to be talking about the teams that everybody laughed at me about. Everybody laughed at me for predicting South Carolina to go 9-3 and having a chance to finish second in the SEC East. What happened? 8-4, third in the SEC East. They had a chance. They beat the second best team in the SEC East. They beat Tennessee like a drum at home. Who else did I get laughed at for? UCLA. I said UCLA could most certainly have a 10-win season. What are you talking about? UCLA's not even gonna make a ball. I'm like, you guys are not paying attention. Chip Kelly is building something over there at UCLA. They just had an 8-4 season. Most of their talent is coming back. They're going to build upon that. What happened? They didn't have a 10-win season, but they had a 9-3 season. Man, that UCLA team looked good. I know. What I tell you at the beginning of the year about Oregon State? Said Oregon State is going to be a top 25 team at the end of the year. Oregon State. Oregon State hasn't been good in forever. I understand that. But the past 2 years, they have been improving, especially on the defensive side of the ball against the run. And they've been creating mismatches on key areas of the field. And I knew that they were due. What happens? Double-digit win season for Oregon State. Washington. I said 10-win season for Washington. 10-win season for Washington. Michael Penix Jr. is that good of a football player. So, yes, I am used to people laughing at me. Bring it on. I don't mind. Speaking of, I'm going to get called crazy because I'm thinking outside the box because I'm seeing some of the potential of these other teams, and I'm not just pulling out the same name that we usually hear. So this next, number 3, this next name is going to be out of the ACC. And I think the ACC championship is going to be a rematch of the regular season. I think it's going to be Florida State versus Clemson. I think Clemson beats Florida State in the regular season, and that will be Florida State's only loss, and they get back to the ACC championship game with 1 loss. And it's really, really difficult to beat a really good team twice in the same year. Don't tell that to Utah. They do it all the time. But it's very, very difficult. I'm taking the Noles, guys, as the 3 seed. Give me the Seminoles. They have a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate in their quarterback. They have a great defense. They have a great defense coming back. That schedule is very, very manageable. Really 2 tough games on their schedule. The rest of it, very, very winnable. It's that first game against LSU, neutral game. But this year it's in Orlando, which is actually close to Florida State instead of Baton Rouge, which they still won last year. And then at Clemson, and I think they win 1 and they lose 1. I think they go on the road and lose to Clemson, but they avenge that loss. They avenge that loss in the ACC championship and beat Clemson to get to the playoffs. I'm telling you, 1 loss ACC champ Florida State, the playoff committee will slide them right in there. Listen, Florida State makes them a lot of money. They like Florida State. They like Clemson. They begrudgingly put TCU in, but they had no choice this past year. Florida State wins the ACC with 1 loss. They're in. So now it's expect the unexpected with going unbluted, right? Who could he pick for that 4th spot? What in the world's going on here? For that 4th spot, I kind of gave you a hint earlier in the show. Earlier in the show, I gave you a hint. It was one of the teams that I got laughed at, actually. No, it's not UCLA. No, it's not Oregon State. Washington Huskies. Telling you. Washington Huskies, they're ready. They're ready. Only because of a technicality did they not make the Pac-12 championship. Had the Huskies made the Pac-12 championship, the Washington Huskies would be Pac-12 champs, and they were one win away from getting to the playoffs. Think about that. If Washington, who was their two losses? I think they lost to Utah and somebody else. But anyways, my point is, you erase one of those losses, they get the Pac-12 championship, and I'm convinced that they win the Pac-12 championship. They're in the playoffs. They're in the same position. They're in the same position as what USC was last year. Same exact position as what USC was last year. If you just switch that one win or loss, whatever you want to call it. And this year they take that step forward. I think Washington is a low-key, possibly undefeated team. I'm not talking about a one-loss Pac-12 champion. I'm talking about possibly an undefeated Washington Huskies team going into the playoffs. And it would be new to them. Although Washington, don't forget, Washington has been to the playoffs before. Now, last time it was not a good outing for them. They got blasted by Alabama in the first round. But that's been a while back, and people forget how good of a brand Washington is, how good they recruit, how winnable their schedule is, and how not too long ago they were a freaking powerhouse. Washington is on the rise. Guys, do not sleep on them. I told you that Washington was going to have a 10-win season. Everybody laughed at me and said that there's nothing to point to that. There was a ton of things, and one of the best things that helped them was quarterback transfer Michael Penix Jr. That dude is a game changer. Washington is poised to have a magical season in 2023. I love the coaching staff. They have a great fan base, great home field advantage. You think Oregon has a good home field advantage? Washington's home field advantage is even better. But they've had a few down years, so, they haven't been featured on television. And, the fans have been kind of wavering on the support as far as not packing it out. But now that Washington is good again, that place is a rocking. So my 1 seed is Georgia. My 2 seed is Texas. I'm going to flip my 3 and 4 seed because I do think Florida State has one loss. I think because of Texas's brand and them being in the Big 12, that still be one spot over Washington. So my 1 seed is going to be Georgia. My 2 seed is going to be Texas. 3 seed will be Washington. And then the 4 seed would be Florida State. So in the 14 playoff scenario that I'm picking, the 1 seed Georgia versus the 4 seed Florida State. Great game right there. And then the 3 seed Washington versus the 2 seed Texas, a rematch of the Alamo Bowl, where Washington beat Texas. Washington looked good against a good Texas team. So if you're going to doubt me, the one team that you should doubt me on should actually be Texas. They had the worst record out of all the teams that I listed. So why people are laughing more about Washington than when I said Texas, that actually blows me away. Washington actually, looked really good against Texas. So Texas is the only one that could be really shaky. I'm actually, 100% confident on Georgia. They're getting in no matter what. I'm actually really confident on Florida State as well. Double-digit win season. Florida State's recruiting at an elite level again. Schedule sets up well. And I have full confidence they'll beat LSU, maybe lose at Clemson, and then win the ACC. I like it. I think Florida State's ready to be back. And then Washington, I'm telling you, Washington's ready to go undefeated. Seriously. Washington is ready to go undefeated. All right, let's expand outside of that. All right. So hold on, let me switch something real quick. All right, so let's keep going. All right. Those are my top 4 seeds. Let's go to my number 5 seed. My number 5 seed is going to be the Big Ten champs. And for this year, I'm not going to pick Michigan. I think Michigan's in for a big setback here. Ohio State returns a lot of talent, But I think they trip up somewhere. I think they trip up somewhere. So I'm going to have Ohio State as my 5 seed. Barely missing my top 4, but I'll put them in as my 5 seed. I don't trust them to get in the top 4. I know the playoff committee likes the Ohio State brand, but I think they could be a 2-loss Big Ten champ, and they're not going to put a 2-loss Big Ten champ over a 1-loss Pac-12 or ACC champ or an undefeated champ. There you go. So yes, I like Ohio State to win the Big Ten championship with 2 losses, or they get to the Big Ten championship and get upset, and that gives them their 2nd loss. Either way, I just have this feeling that something's going to happen to knock the Big Ten completely out of the playoffs. The Big Ten goes from 2 teams in the playoffs this year to 0 teams in the playoffs next year. I think one of those reasons is they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt like they did this year, because both of those teams lost in the playoffs, and that does affect future decisions, because they don't like to be made to look dumb. Let's just say that, which I don't think they look dumb, but they have these high egos, so it does play a factor into it. But as the 5 seed, we'll take Ohio State. As the 6 seed, all right, so I got all these names circled. I just didn't have them seeded. So this is going to be an eeny, meeny, miny, mo type of thing. But for the 6 seed, since you have to go 6th highest conference champion, I'm actually going to go with new AAC member, UTSA. I do think UTS, because UCF's going to be gone, Houston's going to be gone, and Cincinnati's going to be gone. I know Tulane is still going to be there, but Tulane is not established in the AAC. In fact, Tulane has been downright horrible. They just had a magical season this year. I do not trust Tulane, so I'm not putting my chips in on Tulane. I'm going to say UTSA wins the AAC and is the highest ranked Group of 5 champ. So I'm going to give them the 6th seed, because I kind of messed up the seeding though. No, I didn't, because Ohio State's the champ. We're still good. We're still good. We're still good. So there's your 6th seed. Top six conference champions. Number 1, Georgia out of the SEC. Believe they're undefeated. Number 2, Texas out of the Big 12. 1 loss, but it's a close loss to Alabama. Big 12 champ. 3 seed and undefeated Washington Pac-12 champ. And then the 4 seed, a 1 loss Florida State ACC champ. 5 seed, a 2 loss Ohio State Big 10 champ. And then the 6th seed, UTSA, we'll say a 1 or 2 loss AAC champ. So the rest of these are at-large bids, no conference champs, unless you want to pick one out of the Group of 5, which I am not. All right, let's go to seed number, where am I at? 7. Seed 7. I think this is the runner-up in the ACC championship, because remember, there is no divisions. So literally the 2 best teams will be playing in the ACC championship. And like I said before, my prediction is Clemson, Florida State. Both of these teams enter with 1 loss. So a loss knocks Clemson out of a 14 playoff, but they're still in a 12-team playoff. And I'm giving them the 7 seed in the 12-team playoff. And depending on the matchup, maybe they can make a run into at least the semifinals. Who knows? So I'm giving Clemson the 7 seed. What about the 8 seed? I'm going to give the 8 seed to the SEC West champion. The SEC West champion. I'm going to go with Alabama. Alabama will be the 8 seed for next year. Maybe they get to the SEC championship with 1 loss, but then losing to Georgia, that gives them 2 losses. They'll be knocked out of the 14 playoffs. But in the 12-team playoffs, they're still alive, and they get the 8 seed. So Alabama squeezes in there as the 8 seed, and a close loss against Texas at home would look good on their resume as well. So the 8 seed goes to Alabama. What about the 9 seed? I think there's a team. Let me make sure I have enough numbered, by the way. Sometimes I mess up. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, we are good. Anyway, so the 9 seed, I'm going with I know they were very up and down last year, but I think they figured out enough to where they go 10-2. They're not in a conference, but they have an excellent brand, and the playoff committee loves them. That's right, the number 9 seed. I have Notre Dame. Possibly a 10-2 team, but that doesn't matter in the 12-team playoff. It's all about at least have a double-digit win season and have a great brand, make us some money. And that's the category that Notre Dame will check off in 2023. They have a double-digit win season, 10-2. Won't be enough to get into the 14 playoff, but it would be enough to get into the 12-team playoff. So I have Notre Dame as the 9 seed. The 10 seed is going to be the Big Ten East runner-up. No, it's not Michigan. It's Penn State. I think Penn State's going to be a good team. Who knows? Maybe Penn State does win the Big Ten East, and they actually do get to the 14 playoff. But in this scenario, I have them as the Big Ten East runner-up, finishing ahead of Michigan, but losing the head-to-head to Ohio State. Therefore, they don't get to the Big Ten championship. But a one-loss runner-up, Big Ten East, yeah, you're getting into the 12-team playoff. And who knows? Maybe they have a shot to get into the 14 playoff, just like Ohio State did this year. Who knows? But in this one, I have Penn State as the 10 seed. All right, we have 2 more spots, guys. 2 more spots. 2 more spots. The 11 seed. This is a team that I think is going to have massive, massive improvements in 2023 because, to be quite honest with you, it doesn't even make sense, the record that they had in 2022. The talent they get on a year-in and year-out basis, the money that they make on a year-in and year-out basis, the money that they're paying their coach on a year-in and year-out basis, buying the best recruiting class of all time has got to pay off sometime. And I think it pays off somewhat, starts to pay off in 2023. Yes, the transfer portal is flooded with Texas A&M players, but they're still recruiting at an elite level. And I think they are the runner-up in the SEC West. Won't be good enough to get them into a 14 playoff, but it will be good enough to give them an 11 seed in the 12-team playoffs. So there's your third SEC team, excuse me. There's your third SEC team making it into the 12-team playoff. And I think it's the big-time bounce-back Texas A&M Aggies. I think they have a chance to upset Alabama at home. But, of course, Texas A&M will pick up a loss that they shouldn't lose. But that's enough to get them into the 12-team playoff. 12 seed. Does anybody have a guess for the 12 seed? 12 seed, 12 seed. Who's going to be the 12 seed? If you're thinking Michigan, it's not going to be Michigan. If you're thinking Oklahoma, not Oklahoma. Oh, I know. Oregon, not Oregon. Oh, it's got to be USC, right? The Trojans, not the Trojans. Miami. Oh, no. I learned my lesson on Miami. I am not picking Miami. Miami might get to a bowl, but no. They still have a lot of steps to take before they're even close to sniffing anything championship worthy. Any more guesses before I reveal it? You probably won't guess it, but I'll give you a chance real quick. So we've ruled out Michigan. We've ruled out USC. We've ruled out Oregon. Oh, I'll throw Utah out there. Not Utah. Not West Virginia. Nope. UCLA. I've been high on UCLA, right? Nope. Colorado. That's a good guess, though. You know how I think, but no, They're not bouncing back that big. I think Colorado gets to a bowl, but that's about it. They're not jumping to national championship contention this year. All right, how about we narrow this down? No, not Utah. I will tell you the conference. Penn State already made it, Kevin. They are the 10 seed. Big 12 conference. They are coming out of the Big 12, so that narrows it down just a little bit. I've already said to Oklahoma, and I've already said to West Virginia. Who could it be? Who could it be? I'll give y'all about 60 more seconds. Gamecock check. Clemson is not. Nope, not TCU. So there's another one off the board. Y'all got 45 seconds. Nope, not Kansas, but that's hilarious. 30 seconds. Oklahoma State. Nope. Getting closer, though. Warmer. 20 seconds. Kansas State. Nope. Good guess, though. Come on, guys. There you go. Peninsula P. Baylor. Yes, I have Baylor as the 12 seed. Dave Aranda is a great head coach. They had a slight down year well, not slight. It was fairly significant step back, but they still, they didn't have a losing season or were just straight dreadful. They just had a few bounces that didn't go their way. They inexplicably lost. They lost to West Virginia on the road, but it was because their quarterback got injured. And that one fumble that was a scoop and score for West Virginia the ball slipped out of his hands. West Virginia did nothing to create that turnover. I'm telling you, if you go back and look at Baylor's season last year, they're only a few plays away from being a 10 or 11 win team. I think the bounce does go their way, at least more so. I think Baylor is a 10-2 team. So in a 12-team playoff, I think that's good enough. Runner up, because I'm predicting Texas versus Baylor in the Big 12 championship. That is my official prediction as of right now. As of right now, that is my official prediction. It might change depending on what happens in the transfer portal and recruiting and all that stuff. But as of right now, my official prediction for the Big 12 championship game is Baylor versus Texas. And I have Texas beating Baylor, and that gives them their second loss. But still, that's good enough to get them into a 12-team playoff. So let's recap my 12-team playoff. My knee-jerk, fresh out of the gates prediction for a 12-team playoff, if it were to happen this year. This will change throughout the year as we get closer to the regular season, transfer portal, all that stuff. The picture gets clear. Right now, we're looking at a fuzzy picture way far away, so we're just making guesses based off last year. So the number 1 seed, I have Georgia. Nothing tells me they're going to take a significant step backwards. And on top of that, their schedule is cake. Georgia, the number 1 seed, undefeated SEC champ, is how I see it. The 2 seed, I have Texas, the 1-loss, possibly undefeated Big 12 champs, ready to take a massive step forward. Definitely possible to go on the road and upset Alabama, but even if they don't pull off the upset, it will be competitive enough to where they win the rest of their games, and that's good enough for the playoff committee to put them in. I have them as the 2 seed. The 3 seed, I have Washington, undefeated Pac-12 champs. Do not be surprised when Washington is in the playoff conversation at the end of the year. I have enough confidence in them to where they go all the way and they get into the playoffs. But if that doesn't happen, just don't be surprised if they're being talked about at the end of the year as far as possibly being in the playoffs. The 4 seed, I have the Florida State Seminoles. I think the ACC championship is going to be a rematch from an earlier regular season game between Clemson and Florida State, where I have Clemson beating Florida State at home. Rematch, different story. Florida State beats Clemson with 1 loss, that being Clemson, so they avenge that loss and get to the playoffs as a 4 seed. Moving on, the 5 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yes, either a 2-loss Big Ten champ, or they get to the Big Ten championship with 1 loss and pick up their second loss. Either way, barely knocks them out of the 4-team playoffs, but still a solid 5 seed in the 12-team playoff. 6th seed, that goes to, where did I write that down at? Man, my handwriting is sloppy. Oh, the group of 5 champ, UTSA. 6th seed would be UTSA. Remember, highest ranked conference champions. So you have to throw a group of 5 champion a bone. So the 6th seed would be UTSA. I think UTSA goes into the AAC and immediately wins the AAC, therefore earning them the 6th spot if there was a 12-team playoff. The 7th seed, Clemson, the runner-up in the ACC championship game, either 1 or 2 losses, depending on how I see their regular season schedule. But either way, I have them losing in the ACC championship. So maybe they're a 1-loss ACC runner-up, and that gives them the 7th seed. Excuse me, the 8th seed, Alabama. I have them as the SEC West champs, losing to Georgia in the SEC championship. But a 10-2 Alabama, or we'll say 11-2. Yeah, because they would be finishing the regular season 11-1 and losing to Georgia 11-2. Yes, 11-2 Alabama, but SEC runner-up, not good enough to get them in a 14, but good enough to give them the 8th seed. The 9th seed goes to Notre Dame. I think they're going to be a solid double-digit win team. Not good enough to get them into the 14 playoff, but good enough to get them a 9th seed. Then we have the 10 seed Penn State. They will be the Big Ten East runner-up. 1 or 2 losses. Definitely good enough to get into the top 12. Number 11 is Texas A&M. I think they're headed for a massive bounce back. I think they finished 2nd in the SEC West, 10-win season as well. That gets them the 11th seed. And finally, the 12th seed, that goes to Baylor, who I think either goes 10-2, possibly 11-1, and meets Texas in the Big 12 championship, where I do have Texas beating Baylor in the Big 12 championship. But in the 12-team playoff scenario, still good enough to get in as the 12th seed. So there you go, guys. Let me see. Hold on. So 1 through 4 get a bye week. So let me hatch them out real quick. 1, there's 3, there's 4, and there's 2. So the 5 seed. Let's see our matchups real quick before we get out of here. So the 12 seed Baylor would be going on the road. The 5 seed Ohio State. That could be an interesting game. I would take Ohio State in that particular game. Horseshoe's a tough place to win unless you're Michigan in 2022. The 11-6 matchup is Texas A&M at UTSA. Nice home game for UTSA, but I don't think that does them any good. I think, number one, remember, UTSA, that's in San Antonio. That's not too far away from Texas A&M. That could be a home game for Texas A&M. This would be a perfect setup. If the 12-team playoff happened this year, this would be a perfect setup if it happened this way for Texas A&M to go on the road and take over the Alamo Dome, which is the home stadium for UTSA, and put about 45,000, 50,000 Texas A&M fans in there, and boom, there's a win. You're off to the semifinals. So I would have the 11th seed on the road to number 6 UTSA and Texas A&M beating UTSA. Last 2 matchups, we have the 7 seed Clemson against the 10 seed Penn State. So Penn State at Clemson. I think Penn State could actually go on the road and beat Clemson in a mild upset. And then finally, or was that all of them? No. Finally, maybe that was it. Man, my matchups. No, Alabama. I had Alabama playing somebody. Let's do this again. So 5 and 12. Mark that out. That's what I should have done. I'm getting old, guys. Y'all don't realize I'm 40. I'm 40, right? A&M and UTSA. All right. Oh, I forgot about Notre Dame. The 8-9 matchup. There we go. The 8-9 matchup. Number 9, Notre Dame at number 8, Alabama. That would make the playoffs a lot of money. However, I think Notre Dame would be in for another nightmarish beatdown. They are not going to go into Alabama and survive that. So, yeah. Sorry, Notre Dame fans, you just drew the short straw. But hey, If you ever decided to join a conference, you would get a bye week, and you wouldn't have to go to Tuscaloosa for a first-round playoff game. There you go. I'm telling you, maybe 4 or 5 of these matchups where Notre Dame has to go on the road to like an Alabama or a Tennessee or an Ohio State, and they're like, okay, we do need to join a conference because we cannot take any more of these road playoff meetings. P Digits, thank you for the $9.99 dono. Says shout out to Liam and Hillbilly. Thanks for the chat, fellas. GBD, put your Cash App on your descriptions so YouTube doesn't take half of your dollars. Finkel is Einhorn. Am I reading that? Or is that L? No, Einhorn. I will put my Cash App in the description and the PayPal link as well. So yeah, YouTube does take some of it, but when I have my phone, I literally can't get into the chat right now. I didn't realize that until I started doing this. So whenever I get my laptop back, I will actually be able to put it in the chat, and pin it in the chat, and we'll do it that way. But appreciate the Digits Einhorn is Fink. Okay, I see. I got you. But anyways, appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Like I said earlier, it's the donations and the Patreon is really what gets you to the off season, because people really do lose interest in college football. I try to keep my videos interesting, and to be honest with you, we're actually doing we're still doing pretty good for the off season. Well, not boom month good, but for off season we're doing good. So far we're holding strong, but yeah, we still rely on those donations. So appreciate you guys for doing that. P Digits, Hillbilly Skeptic. Make sure I don't miss anybody. There was that one name that I forgot that I need to go back and thank again. But yeah, all you guys in the chat that don't super chat, I appreciate you guys too. I'm not overlooking you, because you know what? Those comments help the video hit the YouTube algorithm. So yes, you're helping as well. And hitting the like button and getting this video suggested more, that's helping too. So I see you in the chat, and I appreciate you too. Dadgummit. I didn't realize this chat was that long. I'm trying to go back to the super chat. Okay, yeah, I just passed one. Here we go. Hillbilly Skeptic, shouted you out. P Digits, shouted you out. There was one other name. Oh, was it Traveling Fools that did it? Liam Shepard super chatted. So I wanted to make sure to mention him as well. And I believe that's it. But anyways, I had a good time. Hopefully you guys had a good time, because, you know, we're in the off season. Even when it's the regular season, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This YouTube channel is about talking college football and just relaxing and forgetting about your troubles, even if it's just for an hour. So as long as you're entertained and, you know, your mind is off of whatever's going on in your life, then I've done my job. That's what this is all about. I'm not like super serious to where I have to be right all the time and I look down on people. That's not what I'm about. I'm about having fun and talking college football. Texas Savage number 3. Not just any Texas Savage, but Texas Savage number 3. Appreciate your $2 dono. Says, I say right now, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, USC. That's not a bad prediction. I do like USC. They do have a lot coming back. I just like Washington a little bit more. Alabama, of course, they have to get by Georgia. If you see Georgia's regular season, Georgia's getting in. So I can be okay with Alabama, but I would take Ohio State out. I would put Ohio State or Clemson. One of those would have to go out, and Georgia would have to go in. Even if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, that would still give Georgia only one loss, because their regular season schedule, I'm telling you, Georgia is not going to lose a regular season game. They could lose in the SEC championship to Alabama, but that's not going to knock them out. Being the back-to-back 2-time defending national champs and only one loss, Georgia's going to get in. So the only thing that I would change about that particular prediction is I would swap out either Clemson or Ohio State for Georgia. And that's it. The rest of that, I'm okay with. I got you. I know mine's a little more off the wall, but I try to think outside the box. Yes, to all you guys that are big basketball fans, we will start talking more basketball starting next week. Actually, things really start heating up next week. I think there's only like 14 regular season games left, and the season is already. I think it's already past half over. If I'm not mistaken. I think it's already past half over. So we need to get into some college football or college basketball, but 4-game losing streak. It's tough to get your heart into it like that. West Virginia was 10-2 at once. We haven't won a Big 12 conference game in basketball. We lost our 2 road games. I can handle that. The road is tough in the Big 12, but then we turn around and lose 2 home games. Need a moment, guys. I need a moment. Now we don't even have basketball to fall back on as a West Virginia fan base. Clemson actually, Dabo gave Clemson fans big time hope today. He actually fired Streeter, their offensive coordinator. Nobody thought that was going to happen. That was the right decision. I think Clemson is actually going to be a very, very strong team this year. I just like Florida State a little bit better. I just think that proves that Dabo Swinney is actually willing to make those good decisions. Again, there for a while, like 2-3 years, Dabo Swinney, it looked like he got into complacency. As long as Clemson got to the ACC championship or double-digit win season, hey, still a good team. I'm earning a paycheck. All is good, right? Well, no, the fan base has let him know all is not good. And the fan base let him know that Streeter, their offensive coordinator, needed to go. He listened. He listened. Dabo Swinney fired his offensive coordinator, Streeter, who he promoted from within. Used to be actually a pretty good quarterback for Clemson. Not like elite or legendary, but pretty good. So I think Clemson is headed back in the right direction simply based on that great decision. It shows me that Dabo is willing to make good decisions again. We'll see who Clemson's new offensive coordinator is. There is a vacancy at Clemson at offensive coordinator. So we'll see who that turns out to be. But good decision by Dabo Swinney. Anyways, guys, I got to wrap this up. Y'all know the drill. I have to take my kids to school tomorrow, wake up, do all that stuff, the whole routine. But it's going to be a nice day tomorrow. Don't have to deal with bad weather. Of course, regular videos, I'll be pumping them out as usual. And 10 p.m., we will be back to kick off the weekend. 10 p.m. tomorrow. So come back. Tell somebody while you're at it. Hey, if you tell somebody, boom, we double our viewership just like that. And YouTube hopefully starts suggesting our videos again. That helps us. And, of course, the text as well. So there you go. One day to the weekend. Hold on for one more day, guys. And then we'll be to the weekend. Y'all have a good rest of your Thursday night. And we will be back here tomorrow, 10 p.m. to kick off the weekend.